This is just Bob Bowman, and I'm coming at you with another video. Um, what I want to talk about in this video is that ownership starts with self. Now, what inspired me to talk about this video is that there was a lot of commotion this week about the recent firing of MSNBC analyst Joy Reid. And one thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to celebrate somebody losing their job, because I understand how difficult it is to lose a job. It doesn't matter if that person had conflicting opinions about certain things that I didn't have. It doesn't matter if they disregarded people who didn't agree with the viewpoints that she had. You know, losing a job is a very difficult thing, and making that transition into the next phase in life, it could be very difficult. Some people never recover. But it was a YouTube video that I saw with Roland Martin. He said something that it sparked an idea to make this video in my head. And he talked about how we need to have ownership in order to be more secure in what it is that we're doing. If we don't own something, it's always a possibility that we can lose our source of income. I understand this because it's happened to me before. I'm sure a lot of people understand this, and there have been people that's gone through that and they were able to bounce back real quick. Some people go through it and it's a long road ahead of them unless they know what it is that they have to do in order to make it. And I think about that, and I think about, yeah, this is good talking about from a business aspect, but it's even more so deeper than just owning a business, even though that's great. But in order to be successful in owning a business, when you are starting from ground zero, the first thing you need to do is take ownership of yourself, especially if you come from the type of community that I come from. I'm from the so-called urban black community, where most people are destined to not make it. Most people are destined to either die young, be on drugs, be deadbeats, or just be losers on the streets, or to work a job that's barely keeping them happy while settling for a life that they really don't want. And I had to look at myself, and I had to evaluate myself, and I had to ask myself, do I need to make some changes? And I do. You know, even today I went to the gym, I worked out, I did a full first week at a new gym, because I was going to the Park District for the past 3.5 years, and that was good for me. However, I needed something different. I needed something better. I needed to step it up in order to do what it is that I need to do, because to be honest with you, I am overweight. And I had to take ownership of me being overweight. And I know that I have a disability. I know that I've been in 3 car accidents in a year, and I had to have surgery recently. And even though those excuses are valid, I still need to take ownership and accountability for my shortcomings as far as my health. My eating habits wasn't the best. Even though I don't eat totally terrible, I knew that I could have done better. Um, there were times people would tell me, like, I'll just skip a meal, and you know, that'll help out. However, I was doing that and it wasn't helping me. I wasn't eating breakfast a lot. And one thing that I've done some research and I understand now is that breakfast is very important, because the food that you eat at breakfast, it gives you a head start in the morning. It gives you that energy, that boost that you need but you got to eat the proper things for the type of body that you have. And so, one thing that I've done, and I kind of had to force myself to do it, but I'm seeing the results already, is that I start eating fruits in the morning. Like, I don't eat any other things, no oats, no breads, no meats, no cheese, no eggs, just fruits. And I saw a change in that. I saw a slight change in my energy. Like I'm expecting for it to transition more and more because I do eat salads and stuff like that. So I'm expecting to get better because I feel the energy in me getting better. And it's not just health that I'm working on. I'm working on my mental, but I've explained how I have a counselor and I talk about things, and that's how I came up with this understanding that I need to improve on certain things in my life, and I'm doing what it is that I need to do. And I talk about that. Spiritually, I need to improve. Even though I understand the Bible, I studied the Bible, I can always do better. And it's not just about reading and studying, it's about actions, the type of actions that I do. And I thank God that I haven't suffered as bad as what I could have suffered in my life, because it could have been a lot worse for me, you know, because every decision that we make has a consequence. Sometimes we don't suffer for the consequence. We don't suffer the consequences right away. It's a delay, and then we think that we've got away with it, but it could come back to us in other ways. But I'm understanding that I have to tread lightly. I have to tread carefully. I'm not going to make the correct choice and the correct decisions all the time, but I have to do even better in my decision making, because if I keep on making the wrong steps over and over again, eventually all that's going to pile up and it's going to hurt me in the long run. And then I got to stop making excuses for things, you know? Like, it doesn't matter what type of environment I grew up in. It doesn't matter how I felt about how my parents treated me growing up. It doesn't matter how the people in the neighborhood treated me, or school treated me, or, you know, the people that I tried to be friends with and tried to socialize with. You know, like, I have to do this for myself. And one thing that I had to understand is that there have been times when I've offended people, like, really bad. I've offended people horribly, and people have offended me horribly. But nobody cares if I was offended. They care more about the other person that was offended more than me, and sometimes it's because of things that's beyond my control. But I can't worry about that. You see, the only thing that I can do is change the things that I can, but the things that I can't is just who I am as a person. But the only thing that I can do is still build upon myself, work on my weaknesses while still building up on my strengths. And you know, this type of thinking that I'm having right now, it's been a long time for the light bulb to finally go off in my head. And I had to ask myself, what am I doing to piss people off? Now, if I've done everything that I can to improve my life and improve the way that I interact with individuals and they still don't like me, I have to ask myself, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing allowing myself to be around individuals that don't appreciate who I am? Why am I around them? What is it about me that's allowing myself to be around individuals that won't accept and appreciate me as a person, that only look at me as somebody, as a human doing and not a human being? And that's something I had to look deeply within myself. You see, there have been people in worse situations than me that have become very successful. And I'm not saying that I will ever be as successful as them, but they got on their business. You know, it was one book that I read, and it's called No Free Lunch by Rodney Carroll. And I read this book back in 2018. It didn't really hit me what he was talking about until I hit rock bottom in 2020. And I've talked about what happened to me in 2020 many times in my previous videos. So in this book, he talked about how he grew up on welfare, but he did extremely well in the school system that he was in. Like, he was one of the honor roll straight A students. He worked really hard in class. He had a goal to be a dentist. However, he didn't have enough resources and he didn't have enough connections to get into the colleges and the field that he wanted to get into. He ended up having to take a job at UPS that he didn't really want to take, but he took it because he had to get himself off the ground. He had to feed himself. He had to help out his family. And it was a long and hard journey for him. And he had to give up his dream of becoming a dentist, and he had to work at that UPS job. But he ended up becoming a manager there, a district manager. He moved up, so forth and so on. And he had a lot of obstacles within himself moving up because he wanted to become one of the people that was underneath the CEO of UPS, and he never got that opportunity to. However, his hard work ended up blessing him in another way, to where he was able to come up with his own company eventually, which is Welfare to Work Partnership. He's the CEO of it. So he did that. He worked real hard, and he became not only a businessman, but he also helped the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, come up with the Welfare Reform Act back in 1996, August 16th, I believe. So he came up with that Welfare Reform Act with Bill Clinton that was passing the laws that put limitations on welfare, that put people to work instead of having them dependent on welfare. And he did that because he saw the 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 um the negative side of being on welfare permanently. He didn't get the opportunities that he needed to become a dentist because he was a welfare recipient in public school, and he didn't have any hope to get any higher because most people wasn't checking for him or didn't believe in him, and he had to find a way. And I talk about that because I look at my current situation. I have a job and I'm not doing terribly, but I know that I want to do more. But I'm at this stage in my life to where I understand that nothing is guaranteed, there's no promises, and nobody owes me anything. And I've been doing what I needed to do on my end, even though I make mistakes here and there, but I've done my best to correct those mistakes, take accountability. I'm starting to look at how it is that I've affected people in my life negatively to change the way that I interact with people. I've allowed individuals to have their space if they don't want to be around me because they don't like me or they don't like who I am, how I talk, how I think, how I act, how I speak. I've had to come to that conclusion that I had to accept boundaries of other people so they can accept my boundaries. And I had to understand that I have to enforce my boundaries regardless of who likes it or not. And I also had to understand that I had to take accountability for everything that happened in my life, either good or bad, even the things that were out of my control, because there were some times when other actions that I did caused the action that was out of my control. Now I think about my disability and I'm like, wow, like, why am I dealing with this? Like, why did I have to go through this? But if I didn't get in trouble in the Navy, I wouldn't have this disability that I'm dealing with. And it's like, how is it that that's how I got this disability? Because I had to carry heavy oil drums from the bottom of the ship to the top of the ship, and it was all day. It was hard labor I was doing. And eventually my back just totally gave out on me after doing it for that whole day. And I can't blame the people that forced me to do that, that ordered me to do that. I have to blame myself, because if I would have just did what I needed to do and not get in trouble, I would have never been put in that situation in the first place. That's what I mean by accountability. Like, I have to hold myself accountable. I have to hold myself accountable that I have an issue with the dating market. And that's because, for one, I know that there's things out of my control. I can't control my height. I can't control my skin color. I can't control the pace of how I speak. I can't control my charisma. But I can't control my weight. I can't control my savings. I can't control how I function as an adult. Even though I'm doing a lot better now, I didn't do that when I was younger. And so I suffer for it. And nobody owes me sympathy. Nobody owes me understanding. If I don't make the cut, I don't make the cut. Just like I don't owe anybody understanding. If they don't make the cut, they don't make the cut. And if I do everything that I can to improve myself and I still don't make the cut, then that means that I'm around the wrong people, and I need to get around individuals where I can make the cut at. Even if I have to go overseas. But even that, after a while, is going to be trial and error. Because not everybody has your best intentions on their mind. And there are people overseas that act like they really like you, that really want to be with you, but the only thing they want to do is use you for whatever money that you have and then toss you to the side once you're broke. And that's what happens a lot. You see, we have to look at the reality of things. Life comes with a lot of risks. And I've said this many times, like, life comes with a lot of risk. We got to take chances. I'm still dealing with the fear of failure if I was to start a business. You see, but I can't allow that to stagnate me where I'm at. I can't allow fear to keep me in this bubble that I've been in for so long that I understand that I'm starting to outgrow. So what do I have to do? I'm going to have to take that plunge eventually. And one thing that I understand is that if I figure out what it is that I'm supposed to do, I'm not going to broadcast it on YouTube, because there's probably going to be somebody that's going to watch, and they're going to try to sabotage what it is that I'm trying to do, because they're offended by me even speaking up for myself. You see, I had people lie on me. I had people say nasty and bitter things about me. And I had people that I thought had my back that believed what was being said about me. And I was expected to be quiet and not say anything and just deal with it. But I'm dealing with it, but I'm letting it be known that that the person that they tried to paint me out as, that wasn't me. But it's up to them to believe that if they want to. If not, I can't do anything about it, and I'm too old to care anymore. I'm too old to try to be a people pleaser. And being a people pleaser isn't being an owner of yourself. You giving ownership to other people, because you're trying to please those people so they have ownership over your emotions, over your validation, and you shouldn't be doing it for that reason. You know? And if you lose connections, you lose connections. You will gain connections in the future if it's meant to be. But I'm hoping that eventually I get to that point to where the light bulb goes off in my head, to where I figure out what it is that I need to do to move to that next level. But until then, I'm just going to work on myself. I'm just going to do the things that I need to do to improve. And if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Just like I know that I would like to get married and have my own child, but I'm at the point to where I understand that if it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. And that's how life is. But at the same time, I'm going to take ownership of my life because God gave me this spirit. God gave me this spirit, this soul. God gave it to me, and He gave it to me to be a owner of it while I'm here on earth, to be an owner of this body, to be an owner of my thoughts, to be an owner of the way that I speak, to be an owner of the way that I dress, the way that I smell, the way that I eat, the way that I interact with people, my activities, the things that are seen and unseen. And I'm still messing up here and there. So I'm not going to claim that I'm doing everything right, because I know that I have to stop certain things and I'm working on it. But it takes time sometimes, especially when you get into bad habits. But one thing that I can say is that when I was totally down and I needed some guidance, I humbled my ass and I got the guidance that I needed just for basic survival skills, which was with my father, where I could survive the rage and the anger that was built up in me, because I was really ready to explode. And I knew that if I didn't change my ways, it was going to hurt me real bad. So going through all that, I understand now that I have that behind me, that, okay, I've messed up a lot in life. Okay, I made a lot of wrong choices. Some of these choices that I made, I cannot mend the fences that have been broken. But I can learn from those fences that were broken. I can create some new fences in other directions, and I can live successful in that way. And that's where I'm at with it. Like, I'm going to take ownership of myself first. If people don't like the version of me that I am now, they don't have to. I don't want them around me if they can't accept who it is that I am as a person. And I understand it goes the same way, vice versa. If I can't stand the way somebody else is, I don't need to be around them. But at the same time, I'm at the point to where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fix some of the deficiencies in my personality that I can, so I can be a little bit more bearable, and I can act my age a little bit more, and I can be understanding of where it is I'm actually at in life, and not be delusional and thinking that it's a quick fix to everything, because it's not. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of effort to make it to that next side. So right now, I'm just at that point to where I finally understand that I can't be one of these people that use religion, race, politics, relationships, etc. as a hustle. I have to become genuine. I have to become correct. I have to become aware. I have to become healthy, not only physically, but spiritually and mentally, in order to have ownership of self. Am I there yet? No. Will I be there? Yes. And the reason I'm going to be there is because I understand now. And with that being said, this is just Bob Bowman. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm out.